representing an enterprise by using an ER diagram. And again, reduction of an ER diagram into relation is an important topic in database management system, right? So whenever you have a schema, a database schema is best represented by means of an ER diagram. So one need to know how to reduce relation schemas from an ER. Join. I will summarize whatever we have done in the last class. Right. So last class we started with the classification of database management system. Right. So right. So DBMS can be classified based on the data model. It can be classified based on the number of users supported by the database system. It can be classified whether based on the distribution of the data, whether it's going to be centrally distributed or right, it is going to be distributed across multiple sites. It can also be classified based on the database and the database management software that is available across different sites. And we can also classify it as general purpose or special purpose DBMS. Right. So one of you can give some information about classification of DBMS. Right. So anyone?
Like, so based on the 5 things you said.
Right.
Okay, so first is based on the type of data model used, that is relational, object relation, semi-structure, etc.
Right.
So what kind of data model is used? Second one is number of users supported, so it can be single user system or multi-user system. Third one is number of sites on which it is present, so it can be centralized if it is present on single computer or at single site, or it can be distributed if it is present, like different DBMS software is used in different databases and it's present in different sites. But centralized is more easy because it has easy backup and recovery options. Fourth type is homogeneous or heterogeneous based distribution, which is homogeneous means the same DBMS software is used at different sites, and heterogeneous means different ones. And fifth is a general purpose or specialized DBMS, which is for what the data is stored. So is it for some particular purpose or is it any general purpose? So general purpose has better performance, and mostly specialized ones are like semi-structured, I think.
Right. Right. Correct, Saloni. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. Right. So, we are teaching for the past 1.5 years by this online mode. So it looks like it's very difficult to motivate students. Right. So even last year, students were pretty motivated. So we were doing it first time we were teaching during the last year, and at least students, they come and attend our classes. They are physically present or right, they were connected, but it looks now students, they take their own time to connect to the meeting. So right, so we should return to offline classes as early as possible. It's difficult to motivate you to work, right?
Yes.
So right. Right. So last class we also started with ER model, right? So we defined the different types of attributes. We defined entity and entity set, relationship set, right? Then relationship set also the different types of cardinality ratio between the participating entities, right? So one of you can explain what is meant by an entity and what do you mean by an entity set? Aravind.
Sir.
Yeah. Come on, Vishwanathan.
Yes, an entity is like an object that is distinguishable from other objects that exist in a set. So any specific person or event or a company will be an entity. But entity set is like a set of entities of the same type that share some properties that are common. So set of all person, companies, and holidays and trees are all entity sets.
Correct.
And entity is again as they have all different properties, so they must have some attributes that will distinguish them from the other entities in the same set. So they'll have some descriptive properties. And any subset that you take from any attributes will again have a primary key that will identify them, because they're all different sets. They all belong to the same set, but they have different properties. So the primary key will be uniquely identifying each member.
Right. So Aravind. Aravind. Nandakishore.
Yes, sir.
So can you describe the different types of attributes that are present in an ER model?
Yes, sir. So in general, we have 5 main types of attributes: simple, composite, single valued, multi-valued, and derived attributes. And in simple, we have only a small amount of data which can be directly accessed. For example, the details of a student. And in the example which you gave, we consider the name, roll number, and other such details of students. And we have composite attributes, in which we can split a single attribute into nested data, like the address which of the student which you are considering. For example, in address we have door number, street number, and the locality, the zip code, and etc. So that would be that would make the data so much complicated. So it leads to the composite attribute part. And we have single valued attribute. For example, the whole data would entirely take a single numerical value or a single characteristical value. For example, the age of the student or the roll number, which takes only one. But in case of name, we have 2 separate parts, like first name and surname. When we have multi-valued attributes, for example, we can have the data as phone number or the address, but we can have 2 different values. For example, permanent address and temporary address, and phone number in terms of phone number, landline, and mobile, in case of example you give. And we have derived attributes, where we get the preliminary data from the user, and we calculate or we assign certain values to certain other data points in the DTVMS system. For example, we get the separate marks of student, and we can compute total and average. So these are the 5 attributes which I have read, sir. Hello. Sir?
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Right. So we have one more attribute type. It's known as stored attribute.
Yes, sir.
So stored attribute is it's like a base attribute. For example, in a student relation, date of birth attribute is going to be a stored attribute. So from date of birth attribute and current date, I can derive the age of a particular student, right? So that's known as so the date of birth is known as stored attribute, and the age of a person is known as derived attribute.
Yes.
Similarly, when an employee is working in an organization, you have a date of joining associated with the particular person, particular employee in an organization. From date of joining value and current date value, you can find years of experience in an organization, right? So again, here date of joining attribute is known as stored attribute, and years of experience is going to be derived attribute, right? So this is about some insight about the different types of attributes used in an ER model, right? So again, we discussed something called a strong entity set and a weak entity set. An entity set with a primary key is known as strong entity set, whereas an entity set without any primary key is known as weak entity set. So in today's class, we'll explore how to represent the different entities, relations, and attributes in an ER model, and then we'll study about how to reduce an ER model into a relational model, right?